What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, one of the UFC 276 fights that I'm most looking forward to is Alex Pereira versus Sean Strickland. And this is very interesting because there's title implications on the line, right? Sean Strickland has been saying that he's the number one contender for a long time. He's somebody that the champion Adesanya has not yet fought. And Pereira is somebody that Adesanya has already fought, but unfortunately for the stylebender has lost to. So there's a lot going on in this fight and a lot riding on it.
Yeah, and oftentimes we get told by the promoters, by Dana White, everybody involved, that we have a number one title fight on the line. And we understand winner basically moves into the next title shot. It just doesn't usually fall on the same night as the title being defended or, potentially being taken away. And that's why I find this so interesting. It's going to be more than just the exciting fights of the night. There's going to be a storyline that plays out. We're going to see this fight, and then we're going to have a little bit of a break with the co-main event, and then we're going to get the same story later on in the night. We're going to have some resolution as to who's probably going to fight either Izzy or Cannonier next. And, I'm not going to say that I think that Cannonier has no chance, but I am predicting that Izzy will likely win that one. And with a big performance, Pereira is set up to basically be one of the fastest fighters in the UFC history to get to a title shot. And, of course, Strickland has been beating everybody, looking really, really good. So he's primed for a title shot. And I think it's just a lot of fun when you have a bunch of fights that really mean a lot at the top of a division happening on the same night.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I think this fight couldn't be happening at a better time because you're going to see either Alex Pereira win this fight and call out somebody he's already defeated, or you're going to see Sean Strickland continue his reign of dominance at 185 and basically call for his title shot. But I think that there's some contingencies that go along with this. It's easy to say, yes, this is the fight for the number one contender. But what if Izzy loses? What if Jared Cannonier pops in there and steals 3 rounds from Izzy and wins a close fight? How do you tell a champion who's been as dominant as Adesanya that he now has to get into the line and work his way back up the division? I don't think you can do that. So I think that while this should be the number one contenders fight, it will hinge on what happens in the title fight. And that's why it's going to be, as you said, conflict and then conflict resolution. But we're going to have to wait one fight to see that resolution. Because if Pereira comes out and absolutely destroys Strickland, let's say knocks him out, and everybody's jaw hits the floor in the 6th fight of his MMA career, he just knocked out one of the best prospects 185 has, you're going to say, that's awesome, he's in for a title shot, but not so fast. We have to hold our breath, wait another hour or so, and see what happens in the main event. So I think that's really kind of an interesting situation that these guys are going to be in. And I think even more so it's going to be interesting for Izzy in the back, because if he sees a guy that he's lost to then defeat Sean Strickland, who's been calling for a title shot for some time now, that may actually play with his mind. Hey, man, this guy just emphatically beat Sean Strickland, and he beat me before, and now there's no hiding from him, so I know who my next opponent is once I get through Jared Cannonier, if I get through Jared Cannonier. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually plays a factor for Izzy at all as he makes his walk in the main event.
Yeah, I think Izzy's obviously one of the most dynamic, explosive, just all-around best athletes for the sport, both inside and outside the cage. He seems to have ice running through his veins. I don't think he's going to let that stuff get to him. I know he's going to be watching probably from the back as he warms up to see how these guys do and kind of see who the number one contender is going to wind up being. But it's not just a shoe-in that he's going to beat Jared Cannonier. He's got to do some heavy lifting to keep his belt. Jared Cannonier is trying to seize this moment. I mean, this is the opportunity all fighters work their entire life for, and so he's not going to go away super easy. Izzy has the skills to win that fight, but he is going to have to be very cautious. He's going to have to win these rounds, and I don't think he's going to have Jared go out pretty easily. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out main event. And that being said, we're probably going to have to see Pereira either win out of some sort of amazing fashion or Strickland do what he's been doing, which is outclassing people for, however long the fight lasts, or finishing somebody. And I think that if we have a finish like that, or we have a good ending, or somebody who dominates their opponent in that fight, we will see a guaranteed lineup if Izzy wins that fight. If these two guys, Strickland and Pereira, lay an egg, we could see, things happen quickly in this sport. We could see next weekend, off the top of my head, I don't know if there's an 85 bout that matters, happening, but there's something that could be coming in the next couple weeks, and somebody could steal all the thunder from either Strickland or Pereira if they don't seize the moment and give the fans what they want, put out a dominant performance. That's why this sport's so interesting. You know, like you said, Izzy has more than earned a rematch. So if he does stumble and lose this first fight against Jared Cannonier, obviously he's got to take another one. And then you can't really do what Justin Gaethje did back in the day, which is just hold out for another title shot. That's very rare that the UFC allows people to do that. Usually you got to stay active, and that can force you to lose again, and then you fall even further down, and you have to wait even longer to get back to the title. So who knows? But as of right now, I think we got a great number one contender matchup. We've got a great main event, and I can't wait for this one.
Me either. So now let's get to the part where we predict the actual fight itself, Pereira versus Strickland. And when I was actually thinking about how this fight would play out, I could see a couple of different scenarios, and I could honestly see both men winning this fight. I think it is a winnable fight for both competitors, but I'm going to go Pereira here. I think Sean Strickland is clearly the better boxer. I think he's got crisper hands and he's got better head movement than Pereira. Pereira's not afraid to take a few to give a few, but I think as an overall striker, Pereira is going to be better. He throws a lot of kicks, devastating knees and elbows. As we know, the loss that Israel Adesanya suffered to him was in kickboxing. That's his specialty. That's his style. This is what Alex Pereira does. And I think given the fact that you're going to see basically really clean, crisp boxer versus super sharp and very powerful kickboxer, I think the kickboxer is going to win out here. I don't really see the ground playing a factor to this fight. I guess if it goes to the ground, maybe I'll give an advantage to Sean Strickland for his tenacity, his strength. You know, we saw some grappling matches that he was doing with Orlando Sanchez in the gym. So if he's recording that and putting it on social media, it's safe to say that he's probably grappling with some of the best people in the world. But then again, as I'm saying that, I'm remembering that Alex is in camp with Glover Teixeira, and it really doesn't get much better as far as grappling goes than that. So I think these guys are very evenly matched. And at the end of the day, just to sum it up, it comes down to, I think, crisp, clean kickboxing is going to defeat crisp, clean boxing.
Yeah, I think most of the time when you see a kickboxer go in against a guy who's better with his hands, you deal with range issues. And if you don't want to throw a bunch of kicks, it's going to be hard to get yourself inside to land your boxing in your hands. But Pereira is going to be looking as much as he can to keep Strickland on the outside. He's going to have to run away because Strickland is game. He might have really crisp boxing, but make no mistake about it, he's a dog and he's an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And he knows how to put you up against the cage. Pereira did show that he has a lot of issues when it comes to getting off the cage, when it comes to being held down against his will, either against the cage or on the ground. And I think there's just going to be a little bit of an experience disadvantage for Pereira. I think he's going to realize that Sean Strickland's got some tricks up his sleeve. I'm going with Sean Strickland to get this win, and I don't think he's going to finish him. I think it's probably going to go all three, but he's going to make it a dogfight. He's going to get inside. He's going to try to get past those legs and those powerful kicks. So he's going to have to be cautious about some elbows and stuff like that, but I just think that with his striking, he's going to be able to mix it up. He's going to be able to use the cage. If Sean Strickland comes in with an MMA game plan, I think this is an easy night for him. If not, and yet he decides to just go out there and purely box, I think he still gets his hand raised, but it's going to be a little bit more of a difficult night.
So you're calling decision Sean Strickland?
Yeah.
And I'm going to call decision Pereira. Both these guys are tough as nails. I don't think anybody's getting finished. I'll go 30-27 Pereira.
All right. I don't think 30-27. I think they'll likely split a couple rounds in the beginning, but Sean Strickland ultimately gets his hand raised.
Nice. Guys, drop us a comment. You know what to do when Nick and I are split. Settle the debate for us in the comments. See you in the next one.
Peace.